Why does rejection hurt so deeply for some people, yet hardly affect others? Because the person who truly loves themselves cannot be easily shaken. Have you ever noticed something strange about fear? The more we try to control life, the more we fear losing it. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear that we are somehow not enough. And so, we spend our lives chasing approval, chasing success, chasing love, believing that somewhere outside us is the peace we are looking for. But Buddhist wisdom shares a quiet truth that many people miss. Fear is not created by the world. It comes from the way we see ourselves. A mind that cannot accept itself will find danger everywhere. But when a person truly learns to love themselves, not from ego, but from deep inner acceptance, something powerful begins to change. Fear slowly starts to lose its hold. Life begins to feel lighter, and surprisingly, the things you once chased begin to come toward you. So the real question is not how to control life. The real question is this: what happens when you finally stop fighting yourself and start becoming your own source of peace? Love that comes from need is not real love. Why do so many hearts keep running toward love, yet still feel an emptiness that quietly follows them home? You may recognize this feeling, the desire to be valued, the silent hope that someone's affection will finally quiet the loneliness inside. But look closely. When love is searched for as medicine for emptiness, it becomes fragile. It becomes something we cling to with trembling hands. And where love is born from need, fear quietly grows beside it. Fear of losing, fear of being replaced, fear that without another person's presence, we are somehow incomplete. A quiet teaching from Buddhist wisdom reminds us, where attachment grows from inner emptiness, anxiety is never far behind. This truth is uncomfortable, yet deeply freeing. When we reject ourselves, we unknowingly place the responsibility for our happiness onto the shoulders of others. We begin asking someone else to repair what we have not yet healed within, and no human heart can carry that burden forever. The result is suffering that repeats itself in different faces, different relationships, and different moments of disappointment. Imagine holding a beautiful cup, but at the bottom of that cup there is a small crack. You may pour water into it again and again, yet slowly the water disappears. This is what happens when we seek love while quietly believing we are not enough. No matter how much affection enters our life, it leaks away through the silent belief that we are incomplete. And then we wonder why peace never stays. But the real question is deeper. What if the cup was never meant to be filled by others? Pause for a moment. Close your eyes, even if only for a breath. Imagine a gentle warmth forming in the center of your chest, not from praise, not from someone's approval, just a quiet light that belongs to you alone. Let it spread slowly through your body. For a moment, allow yourself to feel whole without needing to prove your worth to anyone. This is the beginning of a very different kind of love. Ask yourself honestly, do I seek love to share joy or to escape loneliness? Where in my life am I silently asking someone else to complete me? And if love came from inner fullness instead of need, how peaceful would my relationships feel? The moment you learn to sit calmly with yourself, something extraordinary happens. Your heart stops begging the world for reassurance. You begin to offer love rather than chase it. And when love flows from inner peace instead of desperation, fear slowly dissolves. Because a person who has made peace with themselves no longer trembles at the thought of being alone. Stay calm. Be gentle with your own heart. When you learn to truly love yourself, life no longer feels like a desperate search. It becomes a quiet unfolding. And in that calm space, the universe has a mysterious way of delivering exactly what your soul deserves. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type "self-love brings everything to." Individuation, the birth of inner wholeness. Why do so many people slowly lose themselves when they fall in love? At first, it feels beautiful. You share your time, your thoughts, your dreams. But somewhere along the way, something quiet begins to disappear. Your voice becomes softer. Your choices become shaped by someone else's expectations. And one day you realize you are no longer standing as your own person. This happens not because love is dangerous, but because many people enter love before they have ever discovered who they truly are. 3. A quiet truth in spiritual wisdom says, you cannot offer your soul if you have never met it. Real love cannot grow where identity is missing. When a person has never explored their own mind, their own values, their own inner truth, they unknowingly borrow their identity from the people around them. In relationships, this often turns into silent self-abandonment. You adjust your personality to keep harmony. You hide your opinions to avoid conflict. Slowly, love stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like survival. Imagine a tree growing on the edge of a wide valley. If its roots are shallow, the first powerful wind will bend it until the branches snap. But a tree with deep roots does not fear storms. The wind may shake its leaves, yet the trunk remains steady. Human hearts are no different. When your sense of self is weak, every disagreement feels like a threat. Every moment of distance feels like rejection. But when you are deeply rooted within yourself, relationships no longer feel like something that could destroy you. This is why inner discovery is not selfish. It is necessary. A person who understands their own mind walks through love differently. They no longer chase approval. They no longer shrink themselves to remain accepted. Instead, they stand calmly in their truth. And from that grounded place, love becomes healthier, lighter, and more honest. Because two whole people meeting each other creates harmony. But two incomplete identities often create fear. Take a quiet moment and imagine yourself standing alone in a peaceful forest. There is no audience, no one judging your choices, no one expecting you to behave in a certain way. Feel your feet pressing into the earth, slowly sinking deeper into the soil beneath you. You are steady, unshaken, rooted in your own existence. This is what inner wholeness feels like. Now ask yourself gently, who am I when no one is watching? Do my choices come from truth or from the quiet desire to be liked? What parts of myself have I slowly abandoned just to keep others comfortable? These questions may feel uncomfortable at first, but they open the door to real freedom. The more deeply you discover your own nature, the calmer your life becomes. You stop bending for every opinion around you. You stop losing yourself in other people's expectations. And in that quiet strength, love transforms. It is no longer a place where you disappear. It becomes a place where two rooted souls can stand side by side without fear of the storm. Why is it that the things we chase with the greatest urgency often slip further from our hands? The promotion, the relationship, the recognition, the peace we long for. The harder we run, the more distant it seems. Look carefully at the feeling behind the chase. It is rarely calm. It is tight, restless, almost desperate. And life responds to the energy we carry within us. When the mind believes something is missing, every action begins to carry the quiet vibration of lack. There is a gentle teaching that says, when the mind stops begging, life starts offering. This does not mean we should stop caring about our dreams. It means the spirit behind our effort must change. Desperation clouds the mind. It turns every moment into a silent question. What if I never get this? But when your heart is steady, your actions become different. You work, you love, you grow. Not from panic, but from quiet confidence. And strangely, this calm presence begins to draw the right opportunities closer. Imagine a small butterfly drifting through a peaceful garden. If you jump up and start chasing it, waving your hands and running after it, what happens? It immediately flies away. The very act of chasing pushes it further from you. But if you sit quietly among the flowers, breathing slowly, present in the moment, something unexpected may happen. The butterfly might gently circle back and land beside you. Not because you demanded it, but because you created a space of stillness. Life behaves in a very similar way. Many people spend years chasing approval, chasing relationships, chasing success, as if their survival depends on it. And in that rush, they forget something important. The power of calm presence. A peaceful mind does not repel opportunities, it attracts them. Because calmness carries a silent message. I am already enough. Take a moment and picture yourself sitting peacefully in a quiet garden. The air is still, the flowers are open. You are not reaching outward. You are simply present, steady within yourself. Feel the difference in that energy. This is the energy of attraction, not pursuit. When you stop forcing life, you allow life to move naturally toward you. Ask yourself honestly, where in my life am I forcing outcomes? Where am I gripping too tightly, afraid things will disappear if I relax? And what might happen if, instead of chasing, you stood calmly in your worth? The strange truth is this: the moment you stop chasing the world for validation, the world begins to notice you differently. Peace replaces urgency, clarity replaces fear, and in that quiet confidence, life often delivers what you once struggled so hard to obtain. 4. The love that appears when you love yourself. Have you ever noticed how certain people carry a quiet magnetism? They are not always the loudest voice in the room. They are not trying to impress anyone. Yet people naturally move closer to them, as if their presence offers something deeply comforting. This is not charm. It is not perfection. It is something much quieter. It is the calm that grows in a person who has finally stopped fighting themselves. When someone truly begins to accept who they are, their presence changes. And others can feel that shift immediately. There is a simple truth, often whispered in spiritual teachings: a person at peace with themselves becomes a refuge for others. When you no longer demand constant approval from the world, your energy softens. Conversations feel lighter. Your reactions become slower, more thoughtful. You are not constantly defending your worth or chasing attention. And, strangely, this calm confidence begins to draw people closer. Because deep inside, every human being is searching for peace. Think of a calm lake under a quiet evening sky. When the water is still, it reflects the moon and the stars perfectly. But if the surface is constantly disturbed, nothing can be seen clearly. The human mind works the same way. When your thoughts are restless, filled with insecurity, comparison, or the need to prove yourself, your energy becomes tense. People may not know why, but they can feel the disturbance. But when your mind is calm, your presence becomes soothing, like a peaceful lake where others can rest their tired thoughts. Loving yourself is not loud or dramatic. It is not standing in front of a mirror repeating empty words. Real self-love appears quietly. It shows itself in the way you stop punishing your mistakes. It appears when you stop shrinking your personality just to please others. It grows when you allow yourself to exist without constantly asking, "Am I good enough?" In that moment, something subtle changes in your energy. You stop chasing validation and begin radiating peace. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your mind as still water beneath a moonlit sky. At first, there are small ripples, old worries, old doubts, but slowly the surface becomes calm, the water settles, the reflection becomes clear. This is the feeling of inner acceptance, quiet, steady, and deeply grounding. Now ask yourself with honesty, what kind of energy do people feel when they are around me? Do I carry calmness into a room or quiet tension? And what would begin to change in my life if I focused less on external approval and more on inner peace? Because the truth is simple. When you finally make peace with yourself, your presence becomes rare. And a peaceful heart has a mysterious way of attracting the right people without ever needing to chase them. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." 5. Treat yourself like someone you love. Most people know how to speak gently to strangers. They offer patience, understanding, and kindness without much effort. Yet when they turn inward, the voice they hear is often sharp and unforgiving. A small mistake becomes a reason for self-criticism. A moment of weakness becomes a quiet accusation. You should have been better. Over time, this inner voice becomes so familiar that many people stop noticing it. But the truth is simple and deeply important. The way you speak to yourself slowly becomes the atmosphere of your mind. Imagine living inside a house where the walls constantly whisper criticism. Every room echoes with reminders of what you did wrong, what you failed to become, what others might think of you. At first, the noise is loud, but eventually, it becomes normal. And even when the whispers stop, the silence itself feels heavy. Many people carry this kind of mental environment within them every day, wondering why peace always feels distant. But a quiet realization can change everything. Compassion should not stop at the edge of your own heart. The same patience you offer others must also be offered to yourself. Because growth does not flourish in an atmosphere of punishment, it grows in a space of understanding. When a gardener cares for a plant, they do not shout at it for growing slowly. They water it, give it sunlight, and trust the natural process. Human minds require the same gentle care. There is a simple but powerful truth in this. Treating yourself kindly is not weakness, it is wisdom. A person who constantly attacks themselves becomes exhausted. Their mind becomes tense, defensive, afraid of failure. But a person who learns to speak to themselves with patience creates inner safety. And from that safety, real strength begins to grow. Take a slow breath now. Place a hand softly over your heart. Feel the quiet rhythm beneath your palm. In that moment, say to yourself with sincerity, "I am allowed to grow without hating myself." Let those words sit in the silence for a moment. They may feel unfamiliar at first, but every seed of kindness planted within the mind slowly transforms the landscape of your life. Ask yourself honestly, would I speak to a close friend the way I speak to myself during difficult moments? What hidden belief makes me feel as though I am not worthy of compassion? And how different would my days feel if kindness became the voice guiding my thoughts? Because the relationship you carry with yourself shapes every other relationship in your life. When your inner world becomes gentler, calmer, and more forgiving, your outer world begins to shift as well. And in that quiet transformation, life begins to respond differently to the person you are becoming. 6. Self-love is the strongest protection. Many people try to protect their hearts by building invisible walls. They become distant, guarded, careful with every emotion. At first, this seems like strength. No one can hurt you if no one gets close. But over time, those walls begin to feel heavy. They block pain, yes, but they also block connection, warmth, and genuine love. What most people call protection is often just quiet isolation. The heart becomes safe, but also lonely. True protection does not come from hiding. It comes from knowing your own value so deeply that the opinions of others cannot easily shake you. A person who understands their worth does not need to defend themselves constantly. They do not collapse when someone disapproves. Their confidence is quiet, almost invisible, and yet it is stronger than any wall they could build. There is a simple wisdom in this. A person who knows their value cannot be easily diminished. Think of a mountain rising high above the clouds. Storms pass through the sky, wind, thunder, rain, but the mountain remains where it has always stood. It does not chase the storm away, and it does not fear its arrival. It simply remains grounded in its own foundation. This is what self-love truly becomes when it matures. Not loud pride, not arrogance, just calm, steady certainty about who you are. When you carry this kind of inner strength, something subtle changes in your life. You stop accepting treatment that quietly erodes your dignity. You stop chasing approval from people who cannot see your worth. And when criticism appears, it no longer feels like an earthquake shaking your identity. It becomes just another passing cloud in the sky of your mind. Take a moment to imagine yourself as that mountain. Feel the weight of your feet pressing firmly into the earth. Your presence is steady, grounded, unmoved by the temporary storms around you. The winds may rise, voices may criticize, circumstances may shift, but your foundation remains strong. This is the protection that self-respect creates. Now, ask yourself with honesty, what situations in my life make me forget my own value? Where do I allow other people's opinions to quietly define my worth? And if I truly trusted myself, how different would my choices become? Because the moment you stop searching outside for confirmation of your value, a new kind of freedom begins. You become less reactive, less afraid of rejection, less dependent on approval. The world may still bring challenges, but your heart remains steady within them. And when a person learns to stand calmly in their own worth, life responds in an unexpected way. The right opportunities, the right people, the right paths begin to appear, not because you forced them, but because you finally became the person who believes they deserve them. 7. Rebuild the self you lost. Sometimes, the version of yourself you struggle with today is not your true self at all. It is only the shape your life took under pressure, under fear, under expectations that slowly pushed you away from who you once were. Many people quietly carry the belief that something is wrong with them. They look at their habits, their doubts, their hesitation, and assume this is simply who they are. But pause for a moment and consider a deeper truth. What if the person you dislike is only the result of circumstances that shaped you, not the essence of who you are meant to become? There is a quiet wisdom that reminds us. The self is not a prison, it is a garden waiting to be cultivated. Identity is not fixed like stone, it grows, changes, and evolves like living soil. Yet many people forget this. They judge themselves based on a difficult season of their life, believing the weeds they see today are permanent. But weeds are not proof that the garden is ruined. They are only proof that the garden has been left unattended for too long. Imagine walking into a garden that has not been cared for in years. The flowers are hidden beneath tangled growth. The pathways are covered. At first glance, it may look abandoned, but the soil beneath remains rich and alive. With patience, attention, and gentle effort, the weeds can be removed. The flowers can return. The beauty that once existed was never destroyed. It was only buried. In the same way, the strength, creativity, and peace within you may simply be waiting for care. Many people attempt to rebuild their lives through harsh discipline or self-criticism. They believe pressure will force transformation. But real change rarely grows in the soil of self-hatred. Growth begins when you become curious about yourself again, when you begin asking quiet questions instead of harsh judgments, when you allow yourself to believe that a better version of your life is still possible. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a quiet garden. In your hands, you gently pull away small weeds from the soil. With each breath, imagine planting new seeds. Seeds of patience, clarity, courage. You are not rushing. You are simply tending the ground that belongs to you. Slowly, the garden begins to change. Now ask yourself honestly, which parts of my life no longer reflect who I truly want to become? What habits keep me tied to a past that no longer serves me? And what small change, just one, could begin rebuilding the person I wish to grow into? Because the truth is simple. The person you are becoming is not created overnight. It is cultivated one choice at a time. And when you patiently rebuild the self you once lost, life slowly begins to open paths that once felt impossible. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." 8. Fear thrives where self-doubt lives. Fear often appears as if it is warning us about danger. But if you observe it carefully, you will notice something deeper. Many fears are not born from real threats. They are born from a quiet belief that we are not strong enough to face what lies ahead. The mind begins to whisper questions. What if I fail? What if I cannot handle this? And slowly, those questions grow louder until they shape the way we see the world. A simple challenge begins to feel like a mountain. A new opportunity feels like a risk too heavy to carry. At the heart of this experience is not weakness, but self-doubt. When the mind loses trust in itself, uncertainty becomes frightening. Every unknown situation feels like stepping into darkness with no direction. But there is a gentle wisdom that says, the mind that trusts itself walks calmly through uncertainty. This does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means your relationship with difficulty changes. Instead of shrinking from the unknown, you move through it with quiet steadiness. Imagine walking through a forest at night. The path ahead is hidden and the trees stand tall around you. Without light, every sound feels threatening. Every shadow becomes something to fear. But now imagine you are holding a small lantern. The darkness has not disappeared. The forest is still vast and mysterious, yet the few steps in front of you become visible. Suddenly, walking forward feels possible. Self-trust works in the same way. It does not remove uncertainty from life. It simply gives you enough clarity to take the next step. People often believe confidence means knowing exactly how everything will unfold. But true confidence is quieter than that. It is the calm belief that whatever happens, you will find a way to respond, adapt, and continue forward. Pause for a moment and imagine that lantern in your hand. Feel the warmth of its light as it softly illuminates the ground before you. You do not need to see the entire forest tonight. You only need enough light for the next step, and then the next. Slowly the path begins to unfold as you walk. Now ask yourself with honesty, which fears in my life are born from doubt rather than real danger? Where have I already faced difficulties and discovered strength within myself? And if I trusted my own resilience more deeply, what step might I take that I have been avoiding? Fear loses much of its power the moment you begin trusting your own ability to face life. The darkness may still exist, but it no longer controls your movement. Because once the mind believes in its own strength, even uncertainty begins to feel like a path rather than a threat. 9. Let go of the need to be approved. Many people spend years quietly performing for the approval of others. They adjust their opinions, soften their voice, hide parts of their personality, all in the hope of being accepted. At first, this seems harmless. It feels like social harmony. But slowly, something deeper begins to happen. The person you show to the world becomes a carefully edited version of yourself, and the real you, the honest and unfiltered self, remains hidden behind that performance. Over time, this creates a quiet exhaustion inside the heart, because living for approval requires constant effort. Approval is one of the most unstable foundations a human life can rest upon. Today, someone praises you. Tomorrow, they criticize you. Today, you are admired. Tomorrow, you are ignored. When your sense of worth depends on how others react, your inner peace becomes fragile. It rises and falls with every opinion around you. But there is a quiet truth that many discover later in life. The moment you stop performing, your real life begins. Imagine a bird flying high in the open sky. It does not pause to ask the clouds if its wings look graceful. It does not change its direction because the wind might disapprove. It simply flies, guided by its own nature. The freedom of that bird comes from something simple. It is not seeking permission to exist. Human beings, however, often forget this natural freedom. We begin measuring our worth by how well we fit into the expectations around us. But the moment you begin releasing that need for approval, a profound shift happens inside your mind. You stop filtering every thought through the fear of rejection. Your decisions become clearer. Your voice becomes more honest. Life begins to feel lighter because you are no longer carrying the invisible weight of everyone else's expectations. And strangely, when you stop trying so hard to be liked, your presence becomes more authentic, and people often respect that authenticity more deeply. Take a quiet breath and imagine yourself removing a heavy mask from your face. A mask you have worn for years to appear acceptable, agreeable, perfect. Feel the relief in that moment. The fresh air against your skin. The simple freedom of no longer pretending. This is what inner honesty feels like. Calm, light, real. Now ask yourself gently, how often do I change myself just to avoid rejection? Whose approval still quietly controls the way I live? And if I stopped performing for the world, what kind of freedom might enter my life? Because the moment you stop chasing approval, something powerful returns to you, your own life. Your path becomes clearer. Your mind becomes calmer. And in that quiet authenticity, you begin attracting the people and opportunities that were always meant for the real you, not the mask you once wore. 10. Calm minds attract calm lives. Life has a quiet way of reflecting the state of our inner world. When the mind is restless, filled with worry, urgency, and scattered thoughts, the outside world often begins to feel just as chaotic. Decisions become rushed. Reactions become sharp. Even small problems begin to appear overwhelming. But when the mind is calm, something different begins to unfold. The same world, the same challenges, the same people. But suddenly, you see possibilities that once remained hidden. Calmness does not change the world itself. It changes the way you meet it. A restless mind often reacts before it understands. Someone speaks harshly, and anger rises instantly. A problem appears, and fear rushes in before clarity has a chance to arrive. In these moments, life begins to feel like a constant storm. But wisdom teaches something simple and powerful. The difference between reaction and response is a single moment of awareness. When the mind pauses, even briefly, a new path opens. You begin to respond with intention rather than emotion. There is a quiet teaching that says, a peaceful mind becomes the doorway through which life enters. When your mind is calm, opportunities that once passed unnoticed suddenly become visible. You listen more deeply. You think more clearly. Your choices come from understanding rather than impulse. Calmness becomes a kind of inner intelligence, guiding your actions without noise or struggle. Imagine a lake just after a powerful storm. At first, the water is wild and unsettled. Waves crash against the shore, and the surface is cloudy with movement. In that state, you cannot see what lies beneath. But slowly, the wind fades, the water settles, the surface becomes still, and suddenly, the stones at the bottom of the lake become visible. They were always there. You simply could not see them before. The human mind works the same way. When thoughts are constantly rushing, truth becomes hidden. Solutions remain invisible. But when the mind becomes quiet, clarity naturally rises to the surface. Calmness reveals what panic once concealed. Take a moment now and imagine that lake within your own mind. The storm of thoughts begins to soften. The waves grow smaller. Slowly, the water becomes still. In that stillness, everything feels clearer. The next step in your life becomes easier to see. Ask yourself gently, Which thoughts disturb my inner peace the most? When challenges appear, do I react instantly or allow space to respond wisely? And what small practice could help me cultivate stillness in my daily life? Because a calm mind is not passive, it is powerful. It sees truth without distortion. It chooses wisely without panic. And when your mind becomes peaceful, life begins to flow towards you with the same quiet balance you have created within. 11. The courage to love yourself fully. The greatest act of courage is not defeating the world outside you. It is something far quieter and far more difficult. It is the courage to accept yourself without conditions. Many people believe they must improve themselves before they deserve peace. They believe they must become more successful, more admired, more perfect before they can finally relax into their own existence. So they spend years fighting themselves, criticizing their flaws, resisting their past, wishing they were someone else. But a life built on self-rejection can never feel calm. Fear grows strongest where self-acceptance is missing. When you secretly believe you are not enough, every challenge begins to feel threatening. A mistake feels like proof of your weakness. A criticism feels like confirmation of your deepest doubts. And so the mind stays tense, always trying to protect an identity it does not fully trust. But the moment you begin to accept yourself honestly, strengths, flaws and all, something powerful starts to shift inside your heart. There is a quiet wisdom that says, "The one who has made peace with himself cannot be shaken by life." When you stop running from yourself, fear begins to lose its hold. The world may still bring uncertainty, rejection and change, but these things no longer define your value. Your identity becomes rooted in something deeper than outside results. You begin to stand calmly in who you are, instead of always trying to become someone acceptable. Think of the sun rising slowly after a long night. Darkness does not fight the light. It simply fades when the light appears. Self-love works in the same gentle way. When you begin treating yourself with patience and understanding, many of the fears that once controlled you start to fade away. Not through force, but through clarity. You realize that being human was never meant to require perfection. Take a quiet moment now and imagine warm sunlight spreading slowly through your chest. Feel that warmth growing with each breath. It moves through the corners of your mind where doubt once lived. It reaches the places where fear used to hide. As the light grows stronger, the shadows begin to fade. What remains is a simple feeling, peace with who you are. Ask yourself gently, what parts of myself do I still resist accepting? How much energy do I spend fighting my own nature? And what would happen if, just for today, I allowed myself to be enough exactly as I am? Because loving yourself fully does not make you arrogant, it makes you free. Free from the constant need to prove your worth. Free from the quiet fear of not being enough. And when a person reaches that calm acceptance, life itself becomes less threatening and far more meaningful. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're not sure what to say, just type, "Self-love brings everything." Bonus. When you love yourself, life stops feeling like a battle. Something quiet and unseen begins to change the moment you truly start loving yourself. Life does not suddenly become perfect. Challenges still appear. People still misunderstand you. Plans still change in unexpected ways. But something inside you stops fighting every moment. The constant tension, the feeling that life is something to struggle with, slowly begins to soften. Because the greatest battle most people fight every day is not with the world, it is with themselves. Many people wake up already in conflict with their own minds. They criticize their past choices. They compare their lives to others. They carry silent guilt for not being enough. This quiet resistance creates an exhausting inner struggle. Every situation feels heavier because the mind is already tired from arguing with itself. But there is a gentle truth that spiritual wisdom often reveals. Peace begins the moment you stop rejecting yourself. When that rejection fades, life begins to feel different. You no longer approach every experience as something that must prove your worth. Success becomes a chance to grow, not a requirement to feel valuable. Failure becomes a teacher instead of a personal attack. And slowly, the sharp edges of life lose their power to hurt you so deeply. Not because the world changed, but because you stopped turning every moment into a test of your identity. Think of a river flowing quietly through a valley. As it moves, it meets rocks, fallen branches, and uneven ground. Yet the river does not stop and fight these obstacles. It simply flows around them, adjusting its path with patience. The water keeps moving forward, steady and calm. Human life can move in the same way. When you stop resisting every challenge, the natural intelligence within you begins to guide your path around difficulties instead of straight into them. Take a quiet breath and imagine yourself floating gently along a peaceful river. The current carries you forward without effort. You are not forcing the water to move faster. You are not fighting the direction of the flow. You simply allow the current to guide you. Notice the feeling of relief in that image, the sense that movement can happen without struggle. Now, ask yourself honestly, what would life feel like if I stopped fighting every moment of it? Where could acceptance bring immediate peace into my daily life? And am I willing, even just a little, to trust life's flow today? Because when you begin loving yourself deeply, something remarkable happens. Life stops feeling like a battlefield you must conquer. It begins to feel like a journey you are able to walk with calmness and quiet strength. Love, born from need, is not true love. True love cannot grow from emptiness or desperation. When we seek love only to fill a void, fear of losing it always follows. Buddhist wisdom teaches that love must come from inner completeness, not dependence. When you feel whole within yourself, relationships become peaceful instead of fragile. Individuation, the birth of inner wholeness. Many people lose themselves in relationships because they never fully discovered who they are. Self-awareness is the foundation of stable love and inner peace. When you understand your values and identity, you stop bending your truth to please others. Real connection begins only after you become whole within yourself, from chaser to attractor. Constantly chasing validation, success, or love creates tension and anxiety. The more we cling to outcomes, the more unstable our emotions become. When you build inner confidence and stop seeking approval, your presence changes. Life begins to respond differently to someone who moves with calm self-worth. The love that appears when you love yourself. People who truly accept themselves naturally radiate calm energy. This inner stability makes others feel safe and comfortable around them. When you stop criticizing yourself, your presence becomes peaceful instead of needy. Self-love quietly changes the way the world experiences you. Treat yourself like someone you love. Most people are kinder to others than they are to themselves. Harsh self-criticism slowly weakens confidence and creates unnecessary suffering. Buddhist philosophy encourages compassionate self-talk and gentle self-understanding. When you treat yourself with kindness, your mind becomes a place of support instead of conflict. Self-love is the strongest protection. True confidence does not come from external success, but from inner self-respect. When you know your value, criticism and rejection lose their power over you. Self-love acts as emotional protection against the judgments of the world. A person who respects themselves cannot be easily shaken. Sometimes the version of ourselves we dislike is simply the result of past wounds and expectations. Personal growth begins the moment we choose improvement over self-judgment. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that identity is not fixed. It can change through awareness and effort. You always have the power to rebuild the person you want to become. Fear often comes not from real danger, but from the belief that we cannot handle challenges. Self-doubt increases uncertainty and weakens our ability to act clearly. When you trust your strength and resilience, fear slowly loses its hold. Confidence grows when you remember the strength you already have. Let go of the need for approval. Living for approval traps people in constant anxiety and performance. When your happiness depends on others' opinions, peace becomes unstable. Freedom begins when you stop shaping your life around outside validation. Authentic living allows your decisions to come from truth instead of fear. Our inner state strongly shapes how we experience the world. A restless mind reacts quickly and creates unnecessary stress. But a calm mind sees opportunities and solutions more clearly. Building inner stillness allows life to unfold with greater balance and ease. The courage to love yourself fully. Accepting yourself completely is one of the strongest forms of courage. Many people spend their lives fighting who they are instead of understanding themselves. When you stop rejecting parts of yourself, emotional freedom begins to grow. Self-love removes many fears that once controlled your choices. When you love yourself, life stops feeling like a battle. Life often feels exhausting because we resist ourselves and our situations. Inner acceptance removes much of this mental struggle. When you make peace with who you are, you stop forcing every outcome. From this calm place, life begins to flow more naturally. In the end, Buddhist wisdom reveals a quiet but powerful truth. Fear does not control your life because the world is dangerous. Fear controls your life when the mind forgets its own value. The moment you begin to respect yourself, trust yourself, and accept yourself, something inside you becomes steady. You stop seeking validation. You stop fighting every uncertainty. Instead, you move through life with calm awareness and quiet strength. Zen philosophy teaches something deeply meaningful. Peace is not something you chase in the future. It is something you allow in the present. The more you return to yourself with patience and compassion, the less power fear has over your mind. As one teaching reminds us, peace comes from within. Do not seek it outside. So tonight, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what would change in my life if I truly believed I was already enough? If this message connected with you, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need these words today, and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful and meaningful life.